I would like to apologize. I remember this now. I remember that the email is what
Oh, you
put me on the
remember when you
case.
were watching this movie that Stewart was right and he rips off his own thing going. That's what you're saying?
No, the email
Sorry to finish
put
your
me on the
sentence. It was
case
just
of,
that was kind of the breadcrumbs were leading me to it.
Yeah, I was not the whistleblower in this situation. It was Dan.
Actually,
Other Dan.
Actually, Dan, I have an apology to make.
Yeah.
There's a reason that you didn't remember that you weren't the whistleblower. And it's hard for me to reveal this truth to you. But Dan, a few years ago, do you remember when we were going on that boat vacation? And we were driving to the boat?
Only vaguely. Only, it's like, it's pretty fuzzy for some reason.
Yeah, Dan, there was a car crash, and you actually died on the way there. And
Cool.
when I brought you back to life, I saw...
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's objectively cool.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
when I brought you back to life, I didn't have your brainwaves, and so I had to recreate them from memory. And for a few places where I wasn't sure what to do, I used a cat's memory. A cat's memory, Dan. And
Okay.
I think in the place where you should have remembered Dan originally bringing this to your attention, you might remember pooping in a box full of sand. Is that true?
I mean, who among us hasn't pooped in a box full of sand?
I mean, sometimes you just got to go and somebody else is in the normal bathroom
Yeah.
and you're like, well,
Why
a cat
else
does
is
this.
sand here?
And you're like,
Yeah, I mean-
step aside, muscles. I'm going to use this one.
Yeah, I mean, I paid for it.
And so, Dan, I should apologize. I must have erased that memory, or rather, never remembered it, and put a cat memory
So-
instead.
So, Elliot, how often do you use the I paid for it argument where you put on a pair of Sammy's pull-ups?
Well, one, Sammy is toilet trained. He's 5 years old. He no longer wears diapers.
I don't keep track of everything, dude.
I mean,
Everything
I'm glad
about your son's pooping.
I'm glad that you don't know. You're not fully on top of my son's toilet habits. That's true. You don't need to know that.
Yeah, I mean, for the purposes of the joke, it's not like people are going to write in and be like, Sammy's still using pull-ups? Elliot, you might want to have a conversation with him.
I mean, they
would
would-
just be
they would
cracking
write
up
in.
because it's hilarious.
Well, to answer your question, 0 times. They wouldn't fit me. I'm not that small. Come on. If only they did fit me. For some of this LA traffic, it would be great to have a diaper.
Uh-huh. Or it would probably cushion your bottom for those long sits.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's move on to the next part of the show where we recommend movies that we saw and enjoyed. And as much as we kind of liked Replicas, maybe you should see these first.
Okay.
I would like to recommend a movie that guys, sometimes I recommend movies on this podcast that are, let's call them plain movies, that are,
like Planes from Disney.
yeah, they're pleasant enough. I recommend them because
Or
they're
the
a thing.
movie adaptation of Sarah Plain and Tall.
They're a thing I saw recently that I found enjoyment in, but I'm not going to put my full weight behind. This week, I'd like to put my full weight behind my recommendation. I saw Booksmart, and I loved this movie. I thought it was so good. I think it's the most I've laughed at a comedy in recent memory. So on the comedy level, it delivers, but also the movie, like the two protagonists, the actors who play them, and the writing of the movie makes you just on the side of these two young women immediately. Like they're so lovable, so easy to kind of sympathize with, and the movie's really great about. It's a movie where like everyone in the film is a fleshed out character that you care about and empathize with, and like no one's like a bad, like even the people who are mean sometimes you understand them and you sympathize with them, and overall you're like, oh, this is a good person. And the movie manages to do that without being oversweet.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
So even those like say the evil manager who is actually like working for a military company is fully fleshed out in Booksmart.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That character that exists in Booksmart. But I also want to say, in 2019, there should be more movies where, say, a range of sexualities is just treated very casually. But unfortunately, there are fewer than there should be. And it's nice to see like a big mainstream crowd-pleasing comedy that does not make any kind of big deal about the fact that one of the protagonists is a lesbian. And I don't know, like it's just, there are times in this movie as funny as it was, where I was on the verge of tears, not because something was particularly sad, or not even because something was making me like super happy, but because I felt so like on these girls' side and wanting them to just have a good life, like for things to work out for them in this period of time where they're graduating school and going through like a lot of tempestuous situations. Like I just cared about the characters.
Yeah.
And so it's not getting the box office it deserves for being such a crowd pleasing. Like everyone I saw it with was reacting like crazy. And I think if you want to see more movies, I mean, this was directed by a woman. It was written only by women. It stars 2 women. Like if you want to see more movies like that, it's good to get out in the theater and see it.
Yeah. People should go see it.
So that's my